If you have been living in the UK for years and you are thinking, my life is here now, surely that must count, then stay with me. Because there is a specific immigration route that many people completely misunderstand. And yet it can lead all the way to settlement if it's done properly. My name is Sajjad Kayani, I'm Solicitor, and in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to explain the UK private life route in plain English. Using the latest immigration rules, and more importantly, I'll show you how people qualify, where they go wrong, and what you should be thinking about before you make an application. Now let's start with something very important, because this is where many applications fail before the Home Office even looks at that substance. Before eligibility, there is something called validity. In simple terms, if your application is not valid, it can be rejected and not considered at all. That means no assessment of your life, no balancing exercise, nothing, just a rejection. So what does validity mean here? It means you must apply on the correct online form. You must pay the fee and the immigration health surcharge unless you have a fee waiver. You must provide biometrics when required. You must submit a passport or identity document that properly establish who you are. And crucially, you must be inside the United Kingdom on the day you apply. That's why I always say to not rush just because your visa is close to expiring. A rushed mistake can cost you months, sometimes years. Now, once validity is secured, we move to eligibility, and this is where the private life route splits into three very different pathways. First, let's talk about children. If the applicant is under 18, the rule is that the child must have lived continuously in the United Kingdom for at least 7 years. But 7 years alone is not enough. The Home Office must also be satisfied that it would not be reasonable to expect that child to leave the United Kingdom. That word reasonable is critical. It means you have to show the child's real life, school, history, friendship, community ties, health needs if relevant, stability, and the reality of what removal would actually mean. This is not about sympathy. It's about structured evidence. Second, young adults. This applies if you are aged 18 to under 25 and you arrived in the United Kingdom before you turned 18. In that situation, the test is whether you have spent at least half of your life continuously resident in the United Kingdom. And that is where people often get confused. It's not about feeling settled or culturally British. It's about dates, continuity, and evidence. A clear timeline supported by documents is often what makes or breaks these cases. Third, adults. If you are 18 or over, you may qualify if you have lived continuously in the United Kingdom for more than 20 years. But even if you do not have 20 years, there is another route. You may still qualify if there would be very significant obstacles to your integration in the country you would have to live in if you were required to leave the United Kingdom. No, this is a high threshold. Inconvenience is not enough. Homesickness is not enough. You must show real serious barriers, health issues, lack of family or support network, language difficulties, cultural barriers, or other factors that genuinely prevent integration. And again, each point must be evidence, not simply stated. At this stage, there is one more issue that quietly causes problems. Continuous residence. Time in the UK can count whether you had permission or not. But absences matter. Long absences or certain types of departure can break continuity altogether. That's why travel history must be checked carefully before relying on any residence period. So, if you are watching this and thinking, this sounds like me, here is the correct way to approach it. First, make sure your application is valid. Second, identify which legal test actually applies to you. And third, build evidence that matches the wording of the immigration rules, not just your personal story. The private life route is not about guessing and hoping for the best. It's about structure, timing, and evidence. When it's done properly, it can be a clear and lawful pathway towards settlement. Subscribe and share. See you soon.